What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit like a podcast because I'm going to have a special guest with me on this video. That guest is my friend Kenny Rodenheiser, who is a CDCES and a person with diabetes. And he and I are going to talk about our experiences using Glucagon and specifically our experience using Gvoke HypoPen. So I do need to disclose that this video is sponsored. And so here's my disclaimer. This video is sponsored by Gvoke HypoPen, but the experiences that Kenny and I share are our own. Be sure to check the description of the video below for important safety information around Gvoke HypoPen. But now, let's go to the interview with Kenny Rodenheiser. First of all, Kenny, how long have you lived with type 1 diabetes?
So I've had type 1 diabetes since 2003, just before my 13th birthday. So 18 years if I want to show my age.
Man, I wasn't gonna out you on the age side, but
Okay.
you don't just live with diabetes though. You also work in diabetes, and not like me actually as a healthcare practitioner. So can you tell us a little bit about your work as a CDCES?
Yeah, so I work as a diabetes educator in Philadelphia. Ironically, the same hospital I was diagnosed in. Came full circle there. But I work specifically with kids in their first year of diabetes. And then in addition to that, I volunteer and work with the Children with Diabetes program at their annual Friends for Life conference. I volunteered and then started leading the tween program, ages 9 to 12. And then more recently, I joined the board of directors.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the board nomination. I think another thing that's really interesting about you and I specifically is that we're both involved in the diabetes online community. But until really recently, I personally had never used Glucagon, and you hadn't used it in some time, like since you were a teenager.
Yeah, so I was 15 years old, the first and only time until recently that I've used Glucagon, actually attending one of the Friends for Life conferences as a teenager. And I was super active that weekend. And I think I miscalculated my carb bolus for my meal and had a hypoglycemic seizure on site. Luckily for me, there was a mom of an attendee who was walking by who happened to have Glucagon in her purse, but she was afraid to use it. So luck struck double that day, and the diabetes educator was also walking by and administered my Glucagon. And I was just like down for the count for the rest of the day. It was tough.
Talk to me a little bit about your, more recent experiences using Glucagon.
And what's interesting about my most recent experience is you sharing your story on Instagram is actually what gave me the courage to give myself Glucagon to treat my severe low blood sugar.
Kenny, you just made my day, dude. For me, it took a lot of education and even some really personal one-on-one hand-holding before I was confident enough to use Glucagon.
And that is completely normal. So there are so many factors that go into a severe low blood sugar. And if I could put my diabetes educator hat on right now, can I just talk a little bit about lows and hypoglycemia?
I'm up for it.
Cool. Like it or not, here it comes. So anything below 70, and that's milligrams per deciliter because we're in the United States, that's considered to be low. And as the blood sugar continues to go lower and it continues to decrease, it can become a severe low blood sugar. And then low blood sugars are common side effect for any person with diabetes who takes insulin. And these symptoms can include fatigue, pale skin, shakiness, anxiety, sweating, hunger, increased appetite. Those are the common ones. There's others that individuals can have themselves. And then as, again, it continues to go lower and get into that severe hypoglycemia, you start to experience confusion or abnormal behavior, anger, blurry vision, and that's my tell for severe hypoglycemia, and eventually seizure or loss of consciousness.
And those could be scary, and they really sound scary. And I'm glad that you talked about having blurred vision as kind of your tell. My tell is pale skin and sweating. And when we get those symptoms, to fight them, we have to ingest carbs in a short amount of time.
Right. And the first one that we always teach people and the most commonly prescribed method is that 15 and 15 rule, right? Where you have 15 grams of fast acting carbs, you wait 15 minutes to recheck your blood sugar and make sure it comes up, so that you can ensure that you don't have to repeat it.
And that's actually the 15-15 rule is one of the first things I remember about life post diagnosis with diabetes. It was a very clear 15 carbs, 15 minutes, but there are obviously exceptions. And what about those times where you really need more carbs?
So when we need more carbs, that's when we should start to think about glucagon because the blood sugar is going to be severe. When the 15 and 15 rule works, it works right away. But as our blood sugar continues to go down, that's when we should consider the glucagon. Everybody feels their low blood sugars differently. So what I feel at 65 could be different from what you feel at 65.
Totally. And even beyond that, like not all lows feel the same to a person with diabetes. And as patients, I think we've probably all experienced symptoms that can be severe or not, even if the number isn't drastic. And there's just so many factors that make up a severe low.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of scary because in those moments when we're dealing with all of those symptoms, whether they're mild or severe, we have to make these life-changing decisions and we have to have confidence in the tools we have, like glucagon.
So, in the simplest explanation, glucagon raises your blood sugar fast enough to get you out of an emergency.
That's right. And glucagon used to be complicated, but with Gvoke HypoPen, it's pretty straightforward. Gvoke can be used on someone who's experiencing any one of the following. So you've tried to have your food or drink and it didn't come up. So that 15 and 15 we were talking about, unable to swallow safely. You feel like you're going to pass out or you actually pass out and have a seizure. And it's pre-mixed. It's ready to go. Super simple to use. And it can be used before passing out in certain situations. So, I mean, educator and me, I have my demo HypoPen here. And like it or not, Rob, I'm going to show it to you. So
I'm ready.
All you have to do for Gvoke HypoPen is remove the red cap like this. That yellow part on the end, you're just going to push that against your skin in the subcutaneous tissue. So I'm using my arm right here for the demo. Hold for 5 seconds, and that window there, if you can see that, will turn completely red when it's in. So it's a lot less intimidating for coworkers, spouses, friends to be able to use, and you yourself could use it or a caregiver could use it. It's really just so much simpler. So I don't know if I ever asked you, Rob, where did you end up giving your shot?
Well, you talked about making sure that you had some good subcutaneous fat there. So for those who really know me, you know that one of those places on my body is my thighs. So I wanted to make sure it had plenty of meat to take that injection. So I was home alone and I wanted to be confident my body was going to absorb the glucagon. And you showed how simple it can be. So I prepped my site. And that's one thing about Gvoke HypoPen. I was home alone. And in certain situations like that, you can even give it to yourself. And so I was able to do that with confidence.
And do you mind if I ask what happened after you used Gvoke HypoPen?
Of course, my blood sugar started going up almost immediately. And I could see that it was no longer low and it was trending upwards in about 15 minutes. So I think my overall blood sugar raised about 120 points in about 45 minutes.
A lot of times in my experience, when myself and I hear other patients taking glucagon, they start to talk about the side effects that they have. Like me, I was down for the count. Did you have any side effects when you took yours?
You know, the times that I've used it, I haven't had the severe side effects that are listed. And I feel really lucky and validated in that decision. And glucagon just agrees with me and my body, I think. I feel validated in the decision to use Gvoke HypoPen. And I'm glad I had it at home. In fact, like I've already used it a second time. So I didn't use glucagon once in 16 years. And in the past year alone, I've had to use it twice. But I felt really confident grabbing it and using it because I knew it was going to work. It was just a really, I don't know, strange sensation when I was in a situation where I knew I could be in trouble and I felt my severe low blood sugar coming on and I knew that I had a good fix for it.
And I mean, I'm glad you did for yourself, but also selfishly for me, because it just reminded me and gave me that confidence that I could use Gvoke HypoPen as well. And so I don't think I said this to you. And if I did, I'm sorry, but I'm going to repeat it. But thank you. Thank you for sharing your story.
Well, dude, when you told me that you had been inspired by my story that I shared, and I remember at first being a little bit hesitant to share it because it was something that's really personal. And sometimes, like we talked about, severe low blood sugar can be scary. And it's tough to admit sometimes publicly that we're struggling with our diabetes or that we had a big obstacle. But I'd love to hear more about your experience using glucagon, especially after so long, not having used it since you were a kid. What was it like?
Yeah, so I was actually away on vacation with my family, and I felt myself going low. My wife was with the baby. I was with my in-laws, so I really didn't want to worry them. So I tried to manage it with some juice, and I drank the juice. And I just, those lows, you just keep feeling you go down and down and down. In the 15 minutes, the juice didn't work, and I just started to get that blurry vision, my tell for the severe hypoglycemia. So I got scared, and I was about to go get more juice, and I thought to myself, no, I'm scared. This is the time where I need to use Gvoke on myself. I need to use that Gvoke HypoPen on myself. And I did. My blood sugar came back up. It was just, I don't know, man. Like I said before, thank you for sharing your story because it really helped, and I didn't have to scare the rest of the family.
Well, man, I know that you've told me before that my story had helped you get the confidence to use glucagon again. And it really just validates what I believe about sharing your journey with diabetes. And you never know what kind of impact it can have. Like, you and I are friends, like even outside of the diabetes social media world, but having somebody that lives with diabetes that you're connected with can really help people think about glucagon differently. And we don't have to second guess when a low will end, and where we've treated it and we don't see our blood sugar coming up. And when there's an opportunity to use glucagon like we both did before passing out, I'm just glad that we had the confidence to go ahead and use it.
Yeah. And myself, I tell myself before going to work, like, make a difference in one person's life. And if you can say that about a postman, then that one post helped me. So just,
man, that was my goal all along from this, is just to help one person. And some days, that day where I had to use Gvoke HypoPen, that person was me. And I'm just glad I got to pay it forward to you, man. I really appreciate it. Kenny, I can't thank you enough for your time today. And thanks for all you do for people with diabetes like me. Man, I just, it's great to have these conversations, and thank you for, being a resource for me and other people with diabetes.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's been fun. I loved it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course. And with that, we'll throw it back to me in the studio. Thanks, Kenny, for all that you do for people with diabetes and for your time today. If you out there are interested in Gvoke HypoPen or just want to learn more, you can visit gvokeglucagon.com, which I've linked in the description, or you can talk to your doctor. If you have commercial insurance, you can request a prescription for Gvoke HypoPen and have it delivered right to your door, which I did earlier this year, and that's the Gvoke HypoPen that I used in this video. If you don't have insurance or you're underinsured, Gvoke offers patient assistance programs to help those who qualify get Gvoke. So if you want more information on that, be sure to visit gvokeglucagon.com. Thank you for tuning into this video. Be sure to visit, talk to, or telehealth your doctor if you have questions about Gvoke HypoPen. Just like with all prescription medicines, you should be aware of all of the important safety information, like what side effects you may experience and who shouldn't use Gvoke. I've included some information below on those specifics, and you can learn more at gvokeglucagon.com. Okay, I'm gonna peace out while we roll the important safety information. Be sure to like and subscribe. See you next time.